Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Top 10 edition of Magic Mike's, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. And check out our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory, prices, and delivery of cards for Magic Online. And check out our Altar Sleeve. Support the show by using the code MAGICMIKES at checkout for 5% off anything in the store. I am Evan Irwin. We get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl.
Hey, guys.
Ruben Bressler.
Let's rock. Let's go. Ready to go.
We're ready for wishes, and it's going to be fantastic. But of course, we also begin with our choice of the top comment from last week in a segment we call Honorable Mention, where Ruben will tell us who is the most eloquent, letting us know what card we did not choose as one of our top 10 red cards on Arena. Ruben?
Well, I can't help but think that Effin Fen sort of metagamed that I'm the one that picks the winner. However, I am the one that picks the winner.
I mean, you saw the advantages given to you, so.
Yeah, exactly. So, Effin Fen writes, my honorable mention is Rampaging Ferocidon. A card that spent 80% of its time in Standard banned. These nasty little raptors were oppressive and slotted easily into the powerful Ramunap Red to make an already scary deck worse. Without being able to gain life or block them easily, these clever girls made best of one matchups as terrifying as it would be to meet them in Jurassic Park. I will also add #justice for Ferocidon.
I mean, this thing got banned like out of nowhere. This was a preemptive ban, for God's sakes, while they were banning other stuff at the time. Rampaging Ferocidon is a red and 2 generic mana for a 3/3 rare dinosaur originally from Ixalan. It has Menace. Players can't gain life. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield, Rampaging Ferocidon deals 1 damage to that creature's controller. So this thing was a house. Like, they made this a very, very good red card, and they said, you cannot play with it. We made it too good.
I used it in the historic Decathlon event in the best of 1 up to 7 wins. I had this plus the enchantment. You pay 1 red, they can't gain life as well. And I just farmed life gain decks because that was the most popular thing in the Decathlon event. And it was insane. I was running 4 of both of them, and no one could win. But me.
The card's a monster. Like, absolutely, it's so hard to block. It just punishes them with every play that they have. You have to answer it soon or you're just going to die. Yeah, so it's a hell of a Magic card, and I wish we could have got to play with it. You know, of all the times, like literally of all the times in my life when I've talked to wizards about banning cards and having cards in a format, cards not in a format, I cannot tell you how many freaking times they would say, well, we got to see if it's really busted or not. You know what I mean? We got to really, well, if you think it's broken, show us that it's broken. Except this one time that they decide to ban Rampaging Ferocidon. And
it's the worst.
Kills
so stupid.
Me.
They've done this a couple times with like preemptive bans when they ban something else. They're like, oh, by the way, we're also banning something else.
Yeah, what's the Mana War thing? The blue, white, and colorless one?
Reflector Mage.
Reflector Mage, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
And see, at least I can sort of understand that one in a way, and that it already saw some play, and we kind of knew. But again, the Ferocidon was just literally like, did not see that much play at all, if any. It was, we just know you're going to go there. And it's like, what? Why? All right, anyway, so congratulations to Effin Finn for knowing what Ruben likes, and justice for Ferocidon is a hashtag. Please contact us on social media for your prize, Facebook, Reddit, something, Twitter DM. His up. Thanks again to CoolStuffInc.com for sponsoring this giveaway, and stay tuned for our top 10 list this week, and maybe you can win next week's free gift certificate, a brand new top 10 that we have never even gotten close to. This is really cool. I'm pretty excited about this one. This was a Nerd Girl special.
This was a great idea.
Yeah,
I would
it's
not
the only kind I have, Ruben.
Ooh,
what?
Great ideas.
Great ideas.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, look. At this point, I can only apologize, but it is a good one.
Yeah. So
I would not be surprised if we do this every year now.
Absolutely. I mean, and with that, Nerd Girl, kick us off. What's your number 10?
All right. So my number 10 is an honorary slot, because even though it might be one of the things I want much more, it is a thing that I know can never be. But I want it on my wish list anyway, so I decided to, moderate myself and put it very low, because again, it is something that is very impossible and will never come true, only in my dreams. And that is a better MTGA economy. For the love of Jiminy Christmas, it is bad in many ways.
They doubled their revenue in less than 5 years. How do you think Chris Cox got to be CEO of Hasbro?
I know.
By giving you the most whale, just squeezing economy I've ever seen in my life.
And it's getting worse. Like, do you guys remember the double wild card for historic cards?
Yep.
Like they're not getting better. They are actively trying to make it worse until we revolt, and then they back it up a bit.
Yeah.
So,
But-
give me some specifics. What would make it better?
Well, like a lot of the events are just designed to drain gold and gems out of the economy, especially before sets. People think, oh, we're bored with this, so they're going to give us cube. But if that was the case, then why is 6.5 wins out of 7 the break-even point for
Right.
cube? Right? Like, it is just designed to drain money out of the
They're
economy.
right. The break-even points are bad, and the payouts are bad. And like I can tell you, I've heard from multiple people, from the inside. They say usually they'll present 2 different options of reward players more, reward players less. They always choose the less option. It's never a question. They always make it worse. And like I had to lay down like every inch, every little piece of influence I had in my body, I used to make them stop that 2 wild cards and historic thing because it was just the worst idea. It was unbelievably predatory. Like just awful. And so, I get that they're making money and it's good and profit's great and Gordon Gekko is really impressed, but holy cow, here, let me give you the number one way they can do this is to give you some way to go up the chain and turn your common wild cards into uncommons, your uncommon wild cards into rares, and rare wild cards into mythics. Good or bad. Up and down the chain would be nice, but just up the chain would also be nice. Like give us literal something, not full dusting, God forbid, but something that says, 2 wild card, 2 rares or a mythic or whatever. Like give me something,
The system is even worse. Even if games have dusting for cards you don't want, and they're even better in that they don't force you to have multiple versions of these cards because they're
Right.
reprinting and reusing. Hearthstone does not come out with the exact same card from the last set. How many Fabled Passages got reprinted within the same standard format? And you have to collect 4 of every before you get your gem return. But they say that they give you this like economy rebuy, but they don't. They just reprint the old card, force you to have a second copy of it.
I'm never gonna need more than 2 Azure Drakes. So they don't make me get the new core set version of the same card over and over again in Hearthstone. They do that in Magic
think I
Online.
have-
I've got so many temples.
I've
I've got
got
so
sometimes-
many
so many
temples.
They just do it in Jumpstart too. They just changed the set symbol in Windrider Sphinx and put it into Jumpstart and made you collect 4 more before you got any return for it. And even then, that's 20 gems or whatever, which is nothing.
Right. And there was another bit about, it wouldn't like sort of guarantee that you got all the different rares that could come in those different packs or whatever. And again, that's just sort of, you could have, you didn't have to make it that way to make it even more predatory. And yet they did. So,
And they're still pushing that limit as much as they can. I feel like there's a team for like, let's make as much money as we can with the cosmetics. Let's make as much money as we can with the events.
Sure.
And then, how many wild cards can we choose? Can we give them less wild cards? They removed wild cards out of the vault, which is something that people rarely see as it is.
they removed wild cards out of the vault?
From the original one, yeah. There used to be 2 mythics, one more more mythic and 1 more rare.
They took
into
some
the
out.
vault.
They didn't completely remove them, but yeah. And then
Yeah,
now
they didn't
now
remove
they're
them.
worse.
They just reduced it for
Yeah.
like seemingly no reason.
Because
And
screw you, that's why, and we like money.
how many extra packs do you have to open to get a vault? You're really going to remove 1 rare wild card from me for this? Like,
Well, and a mythic, and that's like 1 in 8 packs. So like,
they're hitting it from every single
Hasbro
angle
has
possible.
investors, and they need dividends.
Yeah, the
And
investors are happy,
investors are absolutely ecstatic.
but they also don't play.
They don't need to.
I would argue that they would make more money if they eased up a little bit, because there's a reason Hearthstone's doing as well as it is, right? And their draft cost is
This is
an eighth
this
of
is
the
roller
price?
coaster tycoon numbers. Like, do you charge $80
Exactly.
for entry, or do you charge $50 for entry? Right? Like,
Yep.
it's,
I mean, it depends on sort of what problem you're trying to solve. For example, down here in Disney World, they continue to raise the price of the ticket because everyone still shows up. It doesn't matter how high they've made it; they keep selling out like every day. So that's
But I
Star
would-
Wars.
But I would argue that there's a limit to how many people can fit in Disneyland, right?
There
So they
are.
can keep raising the price until
Yeah.
their capacity drops, and that's their breaking point. Whereas on Arena, there's really no breaking point. We're just excluding a huge percentage of, like, let's say the Hearthstone population from making the transition over because they could afford $50, but they cannot afford $300.
Absolutely.
it's a good thing that this is the best game in the world. So, or they won't be able to do stupid crap like that. Ruben, what's number 10?
Man, that was a great conversation, but I imagine my number 10 is going to be a less in-depth conversation. We've already had Justice for Ferocidon reference. My number 10 is Justice for Earthcraft. I want Earthcraft unbanned and Legacy.
Please unban a reserve list card and see what insanity happens.
This has been ridiculous. This card is not offensive in any way.
It's not.
To Legacy. And it would make mana bases better because it has to do with basic lands. Earthcraft is a colorless and a green for an enchantment that says tap an untapped creature you control, untap target, basic land. Like it's very good, but it's no more busted than what we have in Legacy already.
Yeah. And I don't see a good reason at this point other than Wizards just doesn't have the time, and there's no one in there, I feel like, championing Legacy or Vintage in any form or fashion. Yeah. And, they finally kind of admitted for Pauper, like, look, we just don't give a crap. So let's just outsource it, like you could also outsource the Legacy thing. They could outsource a lot of the formats, quite frankly, to a group of community members who really give a damn about it. Cause the Vintage, people, the Vintage people are the Vintage people, and I love them. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, but there's a tribe of Vintage people, and that's what they do. And there's a larger tribe of Legacy players. That's what they do. And I think you could find people out of, or maybe two people, groups for both. I'm just saying, like our eternal format, group or whatever they want to call it.
I don't hate that idea.
I think it'd be cool.
Having farming out the legality of the niche formats.
Yeah.
Like Commander, like Pauper, do the same for Legacy, do the same for Vintage. I love that idea.
Get Menendian and friends, and let them sort of help you guide like changes that you could make. And that, and honestly, that helps bear the burden of those, those decisions. You can say, well, look, we've been consulting with these people who play this format all the time. That's why they're, having these conversations. So versus just like Wizards is doing things, right?
Right.
Like at least you can understand there's some conversation about it.
They can hire someone to deal with this, or they can hire someone who can make a new cosmetic. All right, we can't hire both.
Oh no, the group would be free.
That's out.
That's the wonderful part. They spend $0.
No, but someone has to manage that.
Someone has
to like
That's true.
Find the people, interact with the people.
Yes.
Or I could just get someone who like makes a shiny thing.
Sure.
We could make more foxes in little glass bubbles and charge you like $10-15 bucks for it.
I do like foxes in little glass bubbles.
Who doesn't?
And that makes more money than making sure our formats are healthy.
Right.
Oh, well, all right. I has a sad look. My number 10 is very simple. My problem is that like we've basically kicked off the year a little rough. And my number 10 is for less leaks on my wish list. Like we're getting real leaky, y'all. We've already had like 5 or 6 cards leaked, and that's too many leaks. Wizards was really strong about this for years, and suddenly with Kamigawa of all the sets, it's just like rares and stuff just flying out everywhere. What happened?
What was the thing it was like mid of last year where someone stole the official Wizards wrapping of boxes? Like, I know it's not a leak.
Yeah.
They made their own. Yeah.
With the Wizards
cling
label
wrap,
printing?
yeah.
The cling wrap, that's right.
That was not like stolen product?
No, they printed it.
I don't think so.
They
although
took
we
the
never
thing.
really got to the bottom of that. It could have been stolen.
Well,
but we don't really know.
Right. I don't know if it was stolen. From what I understand it, he, like it's just the logo, on a white pattern on the plastic. If he has the ability to print on plastic, you could make that. Or he had somebody in China do it and they showed him.
That was terrifying. That was scary.
Absolutely terrifying because you saw multiple videos of people opening boxes of Time Spiral Remastered and they were already cut open, and Amazon doesn't give a shit. And Amazon sees, Wizards of the Coast logo, we're good to go.
But yeah, fewer leaks equals better for Magic. I think that the excitement goes somewhat down when you have leaks. It's a good number 10. It's not the end of the world, but also leaks signal a wider issue within Wizards of the Coast that is uncomfy, of just not having a professional, secure atmosphere.
All right, let's move on here to number 9. Nerd Girl, what's number 9?
This one's a simple one. We won't have to have much of a long conversation about it. I think we all can agree. We all want this. It's super easy. It should be. And it's something we've been asking for like 2 years. Default land selection. Stop charging me for a new set of lands every 3 days. If you can come up with a new land to sell me, you can give me default lands.
Yeah.
And I will buy them. And I have not bought any cosmetic lands until you give it to me, because I am not going to give you money and then waste infinite amounts of my time to then deal with it.
Right. You add 5 little slots on the profile screen. You know, what's your planes, what's your island, yada, yada.
Like the sleeve. Just let me favorite them.
Right. And you give the option when you get new lands, as you know, you replace default or whatever, or you just say, thanks for the cool new land, and you move on with your life.
Yeah,
But
that's brilliant.
That's
a brilliant
fantastic.
idea.
Yeah.
I recently had to Google how to search for specific basic lands in Arena. And the interface for it is horrendously bad. The interface for searching for lands, for basic lands, without having to just click to the right 85 times is just not good.
Another thing that goes along with this that I think would be very helpful and very important is that when you export a list, if you have a cosmetic Asika's Chariot, it doesn't export a fancy Asika's Chariot. However, when you export or import a deck list and they have a cosmetic land, it does do that. And then you go to like craft all because it won't craft, and then it says you can't craft, and then you have to like remove lands and put lands. Can we just get a basic default mountain that isn't coded to the cosmetic?
I've memorized exactly where the unhinged lands are. They're in the bottom left corner after you screen over twice, and that's where
I do
the lands I
APAC.
use.
I do the APAC lands.
Yeah, and so like
I refuse.
And I know that if you just add one of the land that you want and you have it suggest lands, it will use
right.
the land.
They
you've
did
chosen,
change that. The
is nice.
plus minus addition was a good addition, but you're right. Like
we got to keep going.
It's still got to get better.
Ruben, what's number 9?
My number 9 is something that I have missed, like earnestly. I don't watch a lot. Even when Magic coverage was plentiful, I didn't really watch a lot. I didn't really pay attention to the Pro Tours as much as most people did after I stopped working at Star City Games. I didn't really pay that close attention to like the Magic Online Championship Series or any of that kind of stuff. But what I did, and I still do, is I pay attention to the Loading Ready Run pre-release. And I want to see the Loading Ready Run pre-releases return to the moon base. That's all. I want to see more. I want to see guests in the moon base going up to Victoria, having a good time and showing off the new set. I want that back.
That would be very nice. Absolutely.
I got to play in it. It was very fun.
Yeah.
Yep. Evan and I also got to play in it, for the Rivals of Ixalan pre-release,
Nice.
which was not a great set.
Which is the worst set in the last 5 years, not close.
Yeah, we were up there with Chris Van Meter and Melissa DeTora for hours.
Okay. I did Modern Horizons. Modern
you got a
Horizons.
good one.
You got a good one. Modern Horizons? Man.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was great. I got to like walk through their prop closet. That was fun.
Yeah,
That was
it was
fun.
super cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So for my number 9, a lot of this list for me is just some of the stuff that I'm very excited for. I mean, I can kind of put adjectives around it or whatever, but ultimately it was, what am I looking forward to as sort of my wish list for being cool and being excellent this year? My number 9 is Warhammer 40K Commander, because we're getting that this year, if you remember. And
interesting.
they have like the sky is just the limit, and I'm really excited about what they can do there. Is are the Warhammer folks going to do something alongside it for the release? You know what I mean, like a special figure or something. I just think there's so much possibility there, and this is also going to lead into Lord of the Rings for 2023, which should be awesome as well. I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, Warhammer 40K and Magic, let's go.
I'm down for some Tyranids.
Yep.
Big giant super mecha gun, soldier guys. Let's do it.
I mean, Warhammer has a rabid fan base, the likes of which is extremely similar to Magic the Gathering.
It's true.
And I think that it's also, for me, Warhammer was always one of those things like LARP that was like, I'm a nerd, but at least I'm not a Warhammer nerd. You know what I mean? Like, that's a bridge too far. But I think we've crossed that threshold. Right. And Henry Cavill's talking about Warhammer 40K on the Graham Norton show, and like celebrities and it's become more accepted. And it is a absolutely natural fit to have commander decks with Warhammer 40K. They could make a brand new format for Warhammer.
Oh,
like,
goodness.
honestly.
They could do so much with Warhammer. It'd be absolutely ridiculous. This moving here to number 8. Nerd Girl, what's number 8?
My one higher.
Uno higher. Well, we'll get to that one soon enough. Ruben, what's your number 8? Number 8, rather.
It's 5 words. And I'm not actually hopeful for it, but a man can dream. My number 8 is bring back the Pro Tour. That's it. That's as simple. I don't want the Players Tour.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want Grand Prix. I don't care about the Pro Tour qualifier circuit. I don't care about in-store play really that much. I want the Pro Tour.
I think it'd be part of it. I mean, I think just...
It can be.
Like we said, just bring it back. Let's just turn little hands back a little bit. Even before PPTQs, just back to PTQs. Just PTQs at stores that lead to the Pro Tours later.
The system worked.
Pay out,
folks.
whatever. Have points that you can track for stuff like Hall of Fame. Bring the Hall of Fame back. Like, I haven't voted on the Hall of Fame since like 2019 or something. Like, Jesus.
Right. It's all there. It's all in a basement somewhere. We've packed it away like the Ark of the Covenant at the end of the first Indiana Jones movie. We can dust it off. We can get back to a destination tournament that has 8 rounds on day 1 and cuts to top 8 on day 2.
Yeah.
And then we have the Pro Tour Sunday and we get BDM and Rich Hagon and whoever else you want. Whoever else. Like, I don't particularly care, however, like the individual production value. I don't really care if, I love Tim Willoughby. I would love it if Tim Willoughby could come back with those dulcet tones. But if you don't want Tim Willoughby, find somebody new. Like, I'm cool with the newfangled coverage people. Like, but the Pro Tour, words "the Pro Tour" have so much clout and provenance to it that it is at this point a value subtract to not utilize that as a part of your brand.
I mean,
that's it.
I would, there's just like, again, nothing would make me happier because I feel like it was just so, Wizards made things more complicated for no good reason back in the day when they would say things like, the people who got X points or higher got the platinum benefits or whatever. And it was always something weird like 46 or something stupid.
I don't care about the Pro Players Club.
All of that crap was just completely unnecessary. I always felt it should have just been the top X people, X points get Y and the top 50 get whatever and buys and stuff. And you keep it really simple. It was not necessary. But either way, Pro Tours would be amazing no matter how we got them, no matter how they filmed them. Just look at how the slow stumble of where coverage went. Like, coverage is just,
and I understand that we're
paper
still in the middle of a global pandemic.
Just kind of pop.
All right, boys. All right, let's go.
All right,
Evan, what's your number 8?
Right.
Okay, my number 8 is Jumpstart 2022. I am very excited for Jumpstart 2022. Nice. I think it's a damn fine product. It's one of the best things to come out of this pandemic. We couldn't go to the store to play it, but it was still an amazing product that just like limited without the deck building is still brilliant. They brought it to Historic Horizons and Jumpstart Historic Horizons. That was amazing. For that format, it was super duper fun. And Jumpstart 2022 is coming.
Have they already announced it? It is coming, right? Yep. Okay, cool. So we're just really excited about it. I thought Jumpstart was great for getting new players in as well. Mm-hmm. It does take, a little bit of the difficulty out of it. And it's a way to introduce different mechanics in small chunks. All around, I think it's you guys nominated it for Product of the Year for the Mike C's the previous year, I think, and I think that was pretty spot on.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so sad that we didn't get to play Jumpstart in stores because I feel like
Grand Prix and stuff
it was a gangbusters product. That thing is insane. And
like, because of the pandemic, we didn't get enough. And like, we sold out and like the boxes were stupidly expensive for like 6 months. Mm-hmm. It just hurt a lot. And I want Jumpstart to not hurt anymore. Let's move on here to number 7, Nerd Girl. Hold on a second. Of all the wish list ideas in all the world, you have a same?
We do.
Yeah, I do too.
And this is actually kind of why I kind of cut you off a little bit earlier, because you started going into tangents of like other topics pretty deep.
Okay.
And that is our number 7.
Oh, well, what is it?
Yeah, I did go a little bit into number 7 because I'm excited. I want live coverage to happen.
Oh, okay.
Of some kind. Like,
No.
My topic title was officially Return of Coverage. I don't know what you put on your list, but
mine was live event coverage happens.
so very similar. It just happened to be the exact same. I would love to see some coverage, even if that's branched out into a particular store doing it, whether it's for arena, for whatever. I would like to see some sort of plan.
And that's cool. I mean, this is one of those things that, like, it's expensive, and we get that it's expensive, and we know it's expensive, and we understand that. But
it was worth it, is the thing. Like,
it was so good.
And I don't mean that in a poetic sense. I mean, in the logistical, numbers that you put into it came out of it again. And I think we've already figured out that Magic is not an esport. Right? Like we've given up on that dream. Like there's no more Sir Mix-a-Lot. The world will know.
Right.
Just let Magic be Magic the Gathering. Let Pro Tours have, what did we have? 15,000 viewers. Let SCG
15.
events have 8K viewers. Like whatever it is, those viewers exist. Like that's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
And
like every Pro Tour, we get 25,000 people watching. And in the finals, you get about 50K watching. And that was like solid. We're talking years of 25K for top 8 up to 50K for the finals, like every single year. And they just weren't happy with that. It just wasn't enough for them, and they needed a million viewers.
They tried reinventing the wheel and it didn't work.
Yeah. And it was just kind of, I don't know, when looking back, it just feels embarrassing for a lot of it, particularly when they bought viewers. And it was like, guys, your audience is smart enough to know that you're buying views. Come on. But live coverage would be nice.
I don't know if they cared so much about the audience, more that they care about making a big splash in the world of esports, and that attracts big views, attracts sponsors and things like that.
Right.
And we've talked about this briefly on the show before, and I don't think that the reason it's not an esport is because it doesn't have the capability to be so. I think that there are too many honeypots that they're trying to be in here, in that they want it to be priced for only the elite, but then also appeal to the masses, which is what an esport needs to do. Most of those are free-to-play games, which you can't charge $3,000 for a deck while also trying to get, Timmy on his mom's phone to play the game.
Like Magic is very complicated, and it's like one of the most complicated games that exist that you can play at a very high level. And as with literally everything that's a very, very high level, it's about minutia, it's about little tiny stuff, but you don't get a lot of that. Where, dude over here who watches Counter-Strike, I can see a head pop off. I can see someone make a really cool shot. I don't need to know that they practiced that and there was a pixel perfect so-and-so. It's cool if I do, but at the end of the day, it was nice to see that just happen. So I don't get a lot of Magic coverage if I don't know Magic, intently. But that's okay.
That's a big deal.
That's okay. They have to be okay with some things. You can change some things, which they did, and that's great. But you have to be okay with other things of like, this is, there's a good 50, 75K people who are interested in live Magic coverage, and that's
And I'm also
good.
okay if Wizards doesn't want to do it. I'm okay if Star City doesn't want to do it. Red Bull wants to do it, kind of. They started dipping their toe into online event stuff. Like there are companies out there with the ability to see that it is an advertising tool, that have the capability and probably just already have several of the cameras, talent, TriCaster capability to be able to just do it anyway.
Right.
Again, the pandemic is putting a pause on a lot of things, one of them being major live events. So we'll see how it goes.
But at the end of the day, I also know that Wizards is making $1 billion+ every year. That's a lot of money. Okay. My number 7 here, again, I think the best way to kind of introduce this one is that right over here to my right, I have a $100 booster pack, everybody. This thing cost me $100 friggin' dollars. And they're going to do it again. I don't know if they're going to do a $100 booster pack, but we're going to have double Masters surprises are on my wish list. I don't know if they're going to do box toppers, if they're going to do some sort of weird sort of new product, if they're going to do different kind of foilings or something or other. I don't know how they're going to hide the magical eggs that make us happy when we find them from the packs, but let's go. This was cool. Like I thought this was neat. It's expensive as hell, but you also got a whole bunch of really cool and expensive cards in it.
I'm kind of over foils. Is anyone else?
I've never liked foils ever. I've
used to
never.
like foils.
Every single foil I've ever opened, I've sold, got the regular card, and bought lunch.
Right. I think the etched stuff is cool. The weird borders are cool. For something like double masters, I would be shocked if they didn't have double face cards. And so to do something special with that seems like a home run idea.
Yeah. So, I mean, the sky is just the limit. And so I'm hoping that they don't just, run it back and there's a $100 booster pack and they'll do the box top or whatever. Give me something else. Make it something interesting. You can already see with Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, they're doing that thing that's going to be like 1 in 500 packs to get that Hitsugu with that weird foiling or whatever with a special color. Like, it's going to be $1 million for those cards.
Yeah.
So how $1 million are they going to push? Double masters, are they going to have individually serialized box toppers, for example? Are they only going to make 500 box topper Lilianas and that's it? Stuff like that is possible. Let's move on here to number 6. Ruben, what you got?
My number 6 is, look, they have said this thing is going to be happening since I started playing Magic. They've said that we're gonna get a Magic the Gathering television program show for 20 years. My wish is, and it's never happened. They keep saying it's coming, and then it never has happened. My wish is for the animated Magic Netflix program to actually happen in 2022. They keep saying it's gonna come in the latter half of this year. The official Wizards account tweeted out some animation styling this last year. Like, here's Gideon, here's some buildings, here's the cast and crew. I'll believe it when I see it. That's what I have to say about this.
I actually think if it was left to Wizards, I would be as skeptical as you. But I think Netflix is running the show, and after Arcane, I am extremely hopeful. Arcane was great. They ran the show. I think that Netflix basically reached out to a bunch of people and were like, hey, we want some rights to make some stuff. And they were given rights to make some stuff, obviously with some requirements. And I think Netflix will do it. I'm very hyped. And I think Arcane was a good start to that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no shade per se about this, I swear. I think Arcane pushed back the show another 6 months. Arcane was so good. Arcane was so much better than expected. You know what I mean? I feel like there's this bar that was very low. Arcane crushed it so much that if Magic doesn't have their crap together, it's going to be a giant embarrassment. And I know that there are people, and again, I know, I can't tell you, but I'm telling you, I know that parts of this show was going to happen and it didn't happen because they just weren't happy with the level of quality. So would you rather have it later and it's better, or would you have it earlier and it could be worse? So this is one of those, when it's done, only
come out with something, and you can only premiere something once.
Exactly. You see that show the first time, one time, and if you hate it, we screwed up, right? So
and the other thing I will add is that other animated shows, Arcane's a great example. Animation is actually having a heyday in some ways right now, where we're getting Arcane, we're getting the Critical Role animated series got picked up by Amazon, and obviously their Kickstarter crushed it. Things that are not the traditional Disney Pixar, Laika Studios, Studio Ghibli, we love those big studios. Yeah, exactly. We love those big studios,
right?
And I love animation. And animation's very expensive to produce. I mean, it's significantly more demanding than trying to make a live thing. I can make a 5-minute movie. If I wanted to make a 5-minute animatic by myself, that's going to take me 3 months.
Well, we'll see you, in the summer.
Yeah, it's very tough. So I think that it is good that the bar is raised, and it is good that Arcane was such a smash success. And I'm hopeful. But again,
competition, competition makes things better. Competition doesn't make things worse. And I feel like Arcane was here's a line in the sand. Can you cross it? And I want to see Wizards try. I do. I'm excited for that. All right. So for Nerd Girl, what's number 6?
My number 6 is going to be super simple. Again, I think this is similar to my default land selection. I think it's just something we all agree we need. No matter what way you slice it, there's really no reason we can't have it. Every other game has it. Mobile games have it, for the love of Jiminy Christmas. Why do we not have a spectator mode? Can we just do that? I know this is a complaint that we have had for 3 years, but
This is the part where I get to be in the opposite, maybe the opposite seat about some of the ways that things are implemented there. But like Wizards is like, draw me a line to Spectator Mode. The usage of it, it's going to be the usage of it is going to be very low. I mean, just granted, because it's going to be around an event, or you're going to be spectating your friend, and you have to care about that. Or B, it's not going to make them any money. No one's going to pay for a Spectator Mode ever.
I can draw the line. The line is coverage. The line is, do you want Magic to be an esport? Well, you need a Spectator Mode.
Do you want hot, sexy nerds willing to sleep with you tonight ads on your streams? No? Give me a Spectator Mode for the love of Jiminy Christmas.
Oh, God, yeah. I don't... Look, I like it, and I like the idea, and I understand that when you're in those meetings and they're like, we could make more of this, and we can do more of that, and we can make more historic anthologies, and we can make more Jumpstart Historic Horizons.
It's embarrassing that they don't have a Spectator.
It is embarrassing. There's a lot of stuff about Arena is really embarrassing. A lot of stuff is very good, and we like to point that out, but some of it's just like, damn, guys, really? Like, anyway.
Like, Teppen Day 1 had a friends list. It took us like 2 years to get one on Arena.
It did. It took a very long time. And then I can honestly say, I think a bunch of them say, well, look at how low the friends list usage is. I think mainly because, wasn't it like broke for a while? You couldn't... It
was broken for a while, and they didn't introduce it forever. So we got used to not using it.
Yeah. So it sucked. And then
you have a self-fulfilling prophecy there.
Right. And then they're like, well, you didn't use the friend mode. Like, well, it was broken for like 3 months or something weird.
Also, I still use it to play my friends.
Yeah. So... I don't know. It's so frustrating in that I know why it's not going to happen, and it may never happen.
That's why it's a wish list.
There you go. For my number 6 here, this is, again, kind of things I'm very excited about. And in particular, my wish list is to see Urza, Mishra, and Mex come into Magic with the Brothers War.
Oh, wow.
I'm very excited. Bring me those guys back into the standard format. Let's have another Urza. Let's have another Mishra. I'm very, very pumped with that. And they have like specifically said mechs are like going to be in that set. And I'm just like, what kind of mechs are we getting? Right? Like, we're getting the Robotech type stuff or what? Let's go. So, very excited about that.
There is an interesting line between the Brothers War and Warhammer 40K that we can draw, where we can make mechs happen. We can get actual battle cruiser magic, ladies and gentlemen. We can get Transformers. We still have the Transformers TCG, like foldable 3-card technology. And that still exists.
Duel Masters has had that for like years now. So they know how to do it.
All of that is there. It's all possible. So I think that one might happen. That's a good one.
That's cool. All right. Let's move on here to number 5. Nerd Girl, what's number 5?
So this is actually kind of a hot topic right now.
Ooh.
My number 5, the thing I'd like them to do more of is Decathlon events.
Ooh.
Yeah. I had a ton of fun. It was worth it for me value-wise. I know there's a lot of discrepancy about that. Even the formats that suck. That's like the major complaint we're seeing is that, this sucked, whatever. But like, I don't know, have you guys ever done like a really crappy achievement on World of Warcraft? Like the joy of it is the sucky part to give you the golden egg. So like, even the formats that sucked, I still felt really good at the end. I'm just like, all those basic decks, man, they were a slog, but like I got the token and it feels so good. Can we do that? I have not had as much fun playing Arena than I have on the Decathlon events in a long time.
I thought that the Decathlon event was such a good idea. And if you have not run a Decathlon or watched actual Decathlon coverage at the Summer Olympics, some of the people aren't good at some of the events. Like, you're not going to be the best 200-meter dasher and the best shot putter. Like, it's just not gonna happen. Like, you're gonna have weak events.
Sure.
So that's fine. And that's part of the joy of being a well-rounded decathlete. And I think that decathlon events and other events that have satellite style, you win some tokens to get into later events. I think that is a great way for Wizards and Arena in particular to separate itself from other CCGs. No other CCGs really have that.
Yeah, no, and I think that's brilliant. I want the idea because it just makes Magic more interesting. Like Magic's cool when you just kind of put it in these weird boxes. You're playing this limited format, you're playing this cube format, you're playing this format that makes everything cost cheaper. You're playing this format where you don't get to build your deck. Like there's a whole different way of experiencing Magic, and like having that lead to something is sweet. And we can argue about value. We could also argue about the length of time you had to cash in those Decathlon tokens, which I think should have been a little bit longer. Based on feedback, but still, I think the core idea was super sound. I think it was super successful. I'm hoping Wizards is like, this went like gangbusters, and let's run it back, because that would be awesome. Ruben, what's number 5?
So my number 5 is the most personal one that I have on my list. I have a lot of personal wish list things. We talked a little bit about it in the pre-show. I would love it if Wizards of the Coast gave me another D&D show. Like that would be a personal thing.
There you go.
But that's not, that doesn't feel like the thing to say, I want them to send me a holiday card for once.
Sure.
But that's not a thing that it feels like it belongs here. But what does belong here is something Magic Mike's has done in the past and we haven't done in a very long time.
Uh-oh.
I would like to do a in-person Magic Mike's at some sort of event, at a Command Fest,
Nice.
at a, something, because we've done 3 or 4 of them at GP Vegas and other Vegas events.
I think it was just we did it twice in Vegas, didn't we?
I think we did it 3 times, but it could have been twice. But they're great, and we get a live audience reaction. There's nothing like a live audience reaction.
It's really cool.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And I just would like to feel that.
Yeah, that would be fun. So for my number 5 here, we're going back to Dominaria, and I loved Dominaria. There's a box of it behind me over here. It's great. It's my literal favorite limited format of all time. I think it's just the best limited format they ever made. So my wish list is that the Dominaria United limited format is just as good as Dominaria. I don't think it's going to be, I literally do not think it can be better based on how sort of perfect Dominaria was, but just give me close. You know what I mean? Just give me a shade of what you did there and I'll be happy.
Yeah. Dominaria Limited was.
This was your 5?
Amazing.
Number 5.
Okay. Can I go first for 4 when we're done with this?
Sure. Absolutely.
Great.
So, but yeah, it was absolutely fantastic for, limited, and like Dominaria, it's crazy because when I hit these moments, and like for Dominaria, where I'm like, man, this limited format is like so good. I'm having so much fun. I absolutely love it. I've played it a bunch of times and I want to keep playing it, which is also crazy. And I'm just like, this is the best ever. When can we say it's the best ever? You know what I mean? Like how long needs to have passed where you go like, that was just awesome. Like I had a similar feeling with Innistrad, which was a great limited format, where I was like, this is just so good. How long a time period does it need to happen so I can tell you it's the best? I don't know.
I've never played a limited format. Maybe the first Modern Masters Limited, but I didn't have as much experience with the first Modern Masters Limited as I did with Dominaria, where there were legitimately 13 playable archetypes, and it was undecided what the best archetype was in Dominaria Limited and what the worst archetype was. There just was not, there was no way to know. And I love it so much.
And if you read it right, you would just be rewarded every time. And I loved it. Nerd Girl, what is your number 4?
I want to talk about Dominaria for a second too.
Woo!
Go.
The other thing is that it's one of the first times and only times in recent memory where they introduced a new mechanic and it didn't feel overpowered. Mm-hmm. It like added something to the format. It wasn't overpowered or underpowered or just or sometimes they'll, like with War of the Spark, they'll just throw a lot of planeswalkers in, right? The sagas felt good.
Yeah.
And I think that was unique and interesting and fun and kept it spicy.
Yeah.
So my number 4, to lead from Evan's 5 here, is I would like my wish list for 2022 is balanced limited formats. Can we not just have...
can we please get back to them?
Can we not just have like, the red, black, Crimson Vow thing, or Midnight Hunt,
or D&D, right? Like the D&D set was red, black. The Crimson Vow was red, black.
So I've noticed, and maybe this is apocryphal and not actually apocrypha, which is if a limited format has one archetype that makes tokens, that archetype is the best.
Kind of, but in Dominaria, black green, had the token makers.
Had Saproling tokens, but it wasn't the best.
Wasn't the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, balanced limited formats where it's not obvious that I should be forcing, black, blue, Decade, or red, black, treasure.
And if anything, nice. So I understand, maybe something has to be the best. I get it, but can the best not be so much damn better than the worst? Because that delta is here. It's bad.
I don't want the playable common, the horde zombie, the 3/4 that makes them. I don't want that to be my first pick over a payoff bomb rare in another archetype. Can we just make sure that there is that level of gap there?
Without putting weird unstoppable monsters, you know what I mean?
Right.
What was the stupid limited bombs? There was multiple of them.
In which format?
God, D&D had some. I think Crimson Vow had one that was just so many bomb rares that were stupid.
I mean, there was the hexproof 4/4 for 6.
That's the one. That card makes me just want to barf.
Yeah,
quit event.
The one that's not in the werewolf set.
Right. Yeah. There's some stupid stuff. It seems like they've sort of forgotten how to develop sets for limited, which is sad.
Or they've just, put less effort into it. Just because everything got harder with the pandemic, I understand. This is the first year. Last year was the first sort of full year of sets that we saw that was really impacted by remote development and, remote work. And, maybe there's something about you got to get in so many reps to understand what's too good, what's not good enough, what needs to be buffed, what doesn't. There's always that, there's that time crunch on you. Wizards releases stuff on time every time. Right. So you have X hours from between now and the deadline, and that's not going to change. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
I'm hopeful for this one, though. I think that balanced limited formats are going to be more likely this year because there was a return to the actual Wizards offices.
Right.
It felt like the messaging was they started caring more about limited. So
let's see.
I'm hopeful for that one.
Ruben, what's number 4?
My number 4, I said that I didn't really care about anything except for the Pro Tour. In terms of getting to the Pro Tour. GPs, whatever, PTQs, bring it back however you want to bring them back. Game days, I don't care about. All that stuff. There's one other type of event I do care about. And that is, I hope that the F&Ms get rejuvenated specifically by this Post Malone partnership and by William Huey Jensen being hired in the position that he was hired for, with being sort of in charge of events going forward. Friday Night Magic is the bedrock of Magic the Gathering. It is where people learn about Magic. It is where people go to play Magic. I've played more F&Ms than I've played every other type of Magic event combined, and I'm not the only one. I think that, and it's also important to the local game stores. So I'm hoping that Friday Night Magic becomes the cornerstone important piece that it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
I think if Wizards could think a little bit differently about F&M, the thing about F&M always was that it was a tournament. There was a, the first place and the last place. And I think maybe if they were to broaden their horizons a little bit, and F&M could include commander pods, and F&M could just include random casual jumpstart events, for example, as your F&M event that gives away F&M prizes. If we want to lean into more casual Magic, then lean into more casual Magic, because F&M, again, by its nature, is a tournament. And I don't know how to play Magic well enough. I'm just going to get embarrassed. It's well, no, let's just do some commander pods, and whoever gets the commander pod gets an F&M promo or whatever. I'm just saying that's a way you could work it.
Yeah. I mean, F&M is great. That's how I started playing Magic. My D&D group invited me to come to a Friday Night Magic. And I remember my first F&M where I just held the cards and people played behind me, which they're super not allowed to do. But, as little kids do when they take over stores, we just kind of played and taught each other, and it was great. And I like those sort of environments for sure. Obviously, we want more competitive stuff too. But, kids
And
that's how we're going to get the next generation of Magic players.
yeah, and Martin Case, I know that they do Commander FNM, and that's awesome. And what I'm not saying not necessarily is that, not that you sort of can't do it now, just more so like Wizards really leans into it, and they
Right.
sort of provide Commander staples as FNM promos instead of like standard playable stuff, for
That'd be
example.
great. Yeah.
You know, we don't have to give away $40 cards, you know what I mean? It could just be like, you know, Lightning Greaves or something, you know, the standards that they love. Like all that stuff is still there, you can do.
Yeah. Command Tower.
Yeah. So
Arcane Signet. Like we don't have to
Yeah.
we don't have to have, you know, Edgar Markov, but we can
Sure.
there's also a gap between that and like Lightning Strike, right? Where it's a good standard card. I'm not sure I've ever seen a Lightning Strike in Commander ever.
right, ever. And if you do, you won't see a lightning bolt. So for my number 4, it's real easy. And I guess I could say more like I want them to do these types of promotions more in the future. But my number 4 is more free cube drafts. The ability to get me to play Magic Online for the first time in like 3 years was giving me a cube draft. So
Yep,
that
same.
was awesome. So give me more cube drafts on Arena, give me more cube drafts on Magic Online, give me more reasons to play things on, you know, your platform, and I'll go do it. And that was awesome.
I think phantom drafts of all types. I mean, obviously cube is the real winner because that's what we're used to.
Mhm.
But phantom drafts where you get to draft things that you wouldn't otherwise get to play for a reduced cost is a great way to get people involved.
Right. I think it would be interesting if you had the ability to enter a draft as a phantom as well as keep the cards. I think they could just, you know, maybe experiment with that. You know, it's 2,000 gems to play, or it's, you know, 300 gems and it's phantom or whatever. And maybe the prizes are different or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, but like,
Interesting.
I think giving you a phantom option would be pretty interesting.
Well, it's similar to Moto, right? Where you can pay the 15 tickets or you can have the 2 tickets plus the packs.
Yeah.
Right.
So they could do like 1,500 gems to draft Premier Draft, or
3 packs.
400 gems, which is what the Phantom one costs.
Yeah.
Same prize pool because the prize pool is similar. You just don't keep the cards.
Right.
Now, that is an added thing that they would have to then like distinguish somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be a lot of back end work that they're not willing to do to sell less product.
Sure. Are they selling less product though? Like you're still
Well, they're
using
selling
it
less
in the
product,
format.
but they're actually getting money
More
for
people to
nothing.
sign
Yeah,
up.
they're making more money because
Yeah,
they're selling.
and more people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It depends. If they think that people will do it regardless. Like, I have a full set of Strixhaven and I still have 200 unopened packs.
Yeah, they're just
And I did
hanging
not
out,
buy any.
doing
right?
nothing.
So, like, if they're balancing, well, if we could give them the Phantom Draft, but is that going to increase the amount of people drafting by the amount of money that we are not making from the people who would do it anyway?
I actually haven't looked at how many packs I have on Magic Online. I just don't. Why would I open packs? Why? Why would I ever open packs?
Between
my
my
draft.
main account and
Arena
my free
or
to
online?
play account
On
on
Arena.
Arena, I have over 1,000 unopened packs.
Wow. First of all, sick brags.
Well, yeah.
Number of
I mean,
packs I have on Arena
relevant-
is 0
relevant
because I
flex.
open every pack I get because I'm that guy.
Well,
But
I don't have the patience. I don't have time to click.
Well, I mean,
twice.
I open 10x at a time if I can. Just
Sure.
to get through it.
It just felt like I'm not even trying to brag. I literally just lit a ton of money on fire. I have 200 packs that equal 20 gems a piece. And I spent hundreds of dollars to get that.
You sure did. Let's move on to number 3. Nerd Girl, what's number 3?
So my number 3 goes sort of close to Ruben's here with the return of F&M, and that is some COVID-free live play. Now, obviously, COVID-free is kind of a loose statement there, but I do hope we can return to some in-store play, some GPs and things. I know we had Vegas, and that was kind of a hit. I actually went to Vegas and had a lot of fun, and I hope that we get to do more of that in 2022.
Yeah, and I do not want the weird, sad post-event, you know, I have COVID and I'm sorry, you know,
Right.
tweets or whatever. Like, that's just, as long as we
So
can
there-
avoid that.
And it depends a lot on the tournament organizers. There are ways to run events where you are aware that a global pandemic is happening. Plexiglass shielding is a good start. Mandatory masking is a good start.
Vaccination requirement.
Vaccination
great
requirement,
start.
recent testing. Like, there are ways to run events with hundreds of people, not just Magic events. Events, big events, where no one has a case of COVID. I mean, the Consumer Electronics Expo happened in Las Vegas, and they had 100,000 people come to the Consumer Electronics Expo, and they had no cases. Zero. They had 0 reported cases. Not within the margin of error, not,
as far as
very
I
low
know,
percentage. 0 cases.
Yeah.
There are ways to, and a Magic event is not going to have 100,000 people showing up at it. What you have to do is want to care, right? So if your local F&M wants to care and says, we're going to get 30 people for this F&M, but they're going to have to sit in a little plexiglass box. We're going to say no handshakes, right? We'll punch it'll be like visiting your dad in prison, right?
Yeah.
We'll have through the plexiglass, and we can fist bump over the plexiglass. It can be done.
I mean, it's funny to me in many ways when, we think of like a big event, as like 3,000 people would be a huge event for Magic. And that's like nothing for a lot of these other shows, a lot of these other communities. I mean, 3,000 is a drop in the bucket for an anime convention. Like nothing. It's like nothing.
Exactly. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to talk about my LARP a little bit real quick, because I think that it's a great start to talk about how you can run big events and have no cases. We've run 3 events now with more than 500 people at every event with 0 reported cases of COVID.
Nice.
It can be done. You just have to care.
You have to care and take the time, and then sometimes you have to do the uncomfortable stuff of getting the crazy people out because they're crazy people.
It does require having a bad guy. It does require having someone say, hey, you have to leave. And then facing the consequences of the Karen or the crazy person who says, not in my country.
Right. My freedoms, blah, blah, blah,
blah. But
blah.
That can be mitigated and that can be prepared for.
Right. So for my number 3 here, quite frankly, what I did was I spread such a large umbrella that you've already touched on some of the issues from it. My number 3 was quality of life arena improvements. Honest to God, just take any of them. Just please, something, a better play blade. God, what were you doing?
Oh my God.
A better collection management, a better deck builder. Let me select my default basic lands. Like, make the thing not take infinite resources and make my computer sound like it's going to, take off because it's burning up so much graphic power. Like, there's just a whole host of, please, dear God, make it better to play your game. That's all I want. Just any of it. Just pick one. I don't care. Just give me something.
I cannot do that, but would you like some more lands?
Would you like some more alchemy? Can I buy some more alchemy
pretty
packs?
borderless cards? I thought that my computer was about to take off from the airport just because I have a bad computer. It's good for me to know that it's also Arena's fault.
No, it's Arena's fault. They run like...
It's also kind of your computer because...
Well,
yeah,
his computer's old.
Yeah.
But, regardless, like,
it's not good.
If you put the graphics level at like ultra, like you will start heating your home with your computer because it's so damn hot and it uses like 100% of your CPU and it's unbelievable. It also depends how much board you're on. Like,
it makes me sad that you've been hurt so much that your number 4 is, please, sir, any improvement.
My number 3.
Your number 3. Might I have a crumb of something better?
Something, God almighty.
Like, that is such a low bar.
It is really low. They have beaten me down, all right? They have successfully worn me to a nub over, like, I'm so sick of these stupid problems that I deal with every time I load a deck list, every time I draft a deck. Like, it drives me insane.
Oh, I didn't really think about it. I don't think either of you are going to put it on your list. Can we go back to the old system of picking what we're playing? What is with this new UI is way worse?
Like
the new UI is atrocious.
I don't
Your favorites don't mean anything?
And it defaults back to like the play category. So I'm just like sitting there trashing children with my A-tier deck or whatever.
Yeah. I was like, why? This player's playing like this trash common over here with like mythic rare. Like, I feel like a prick. And I was like, oh my God.
Playing against Sparky.
I'm beating children. Like, oh my God. It just... the whole thing, guys. Just give me something.
They made it worse. They actively made the client worse.
And they're like, this is what everyone asked for. And I'm like, this is what everyone asked for? Do you hate us?
Yeah. Allow me to ask for the other thing.
Ruben, what is your number 3?
So my number 3 is something that I was like, this is going to be totally unique. We're going to have no other topics like this, but because I'm the D&D nerd. I mean, we're all D&D nerds, but that's kind
You're
of
king
like
D&D
that's
nerd,
kind of
you
like
got
my thing,
Hey.
right? So we've gotten these great setting books. We had a really excellent Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. We had Mythic Odysseys of Theros. We have such a robust lore available to us for all sorts of planes. But Magic's home plane is Dominaria. We have so much more lore for Dominaria than we do for anything else. And that's why my number 3 is that I want a D&D setting book for Dominaria.
Okay.
I want 200 pages, like we had for Guildmaster's Guide, like we had for Mythic Odysseys.
Zendikar had one too, right?
Zendikar had a
booklet?
15-page supplement.
Yeah.
Ixalan
Okay.
also had a supplement. And Innistrad has had a supplement. And these are great, and James Wyatt does an excellent job, and the rest of the team at Wizards does an excellent job with these setting guides. And I imagine we'll get one for Kamigawa because it's such a unique take, and they also recently did Eberron stuff, and people are always dying for Spelljammer in D&D. None of these words mean anything to the Magic people who are watching this
I was like,
show,
what's a
but-
Spelljammer? I don't know what that
Yeah, I have no idea. And I played D&D, but
Yeah,
not to that level.
Spelljammer is like spaceships, actual Magic spaceships.
I like spaceships.
And it's great, but it's kind of niche. But Dominaria is not niche. Dominaria is a huge world. It is the size of Faerun. It could be Faerun. It could be the Forgotten Realms. Magic just needs to make the thing. And so I want that book. I want to read 10 pages on Jamura. I want to get a stat block for Teferi. I want to read about the goblins and the Ice Age and
the
the
mending
history
and all that. And
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so ripe for a setting book, and I just hope we get that.
All right. Nerd Girl, what's number 2?
My number 2, we kind of touched on just a tad. It's, all of these are starting to blend a little bit together, but I don't have a ton of hopes for, and I don't think we should necessarily dive straight back into competitive play in 2022 with COVID. So I am very cautious about that, but I do hope that Wizards throws us a bone and gives us a solid, organized play announcement. Let me know where we are going. Give us something to work towards. Give the community hope for a thing. This vague, you're going to get something, we just don't know what it is yet thing. It needs to end at some point, and I hope that we get that in the nearish future.
And that was part of why the MPL suffered, was this, well, we're going to figure it out and we'll let you know, we know what's going on. You may think we're not really sure what we're doing here, but we totally do. And then, 6 months to a year later, they had no idea what they were doing and didn't know how to fix it. And so I don't want that feeling. So let's hope they have some good ideas to avoid that.
I think to tag onto the end of that, some stability inside of Wizards of the Coast as it pertains to Magic events is necessary. We've had a ton of turnover. If you have any connections to Wizards, you know that the amount of people that have come in and left over the last 4 years, I mean, it's been a turnstile. And it wasn't always like that, and it had nothing to do with COVID. And it didn't really have anything to do with Chris Cox, the new president who recently moved to Hasbro.
I mean, between all the changes the past few years, I mean,
who's even there anymore?
Some of the very old guard are there, but even some of the old guard were let go or pushed out, I think is also another way to put it. The people who wouldn't let the collector booster happen for many years. The people who wouldn't let all the crazy variants,
Secret
and stuff,
layers.
the people who wouldn't let secret layers, the people who wouldn't let them stop shipping directly to stores, the people who wouldn't let them make deals with Walmart and Amazon to kind of cut a lot of the distributors out of it.
They do need some stability, though, to be able to get that level of announcement, that level of confidence of saying, here is where our plan is headed.
Right.
They need to have, Huey needs to be he needs to be there for a while.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I feel bad for people who like Sean in all caps, Mishy, like these people who came in, were very competent.
Yeah,
they had good resumes, and then they were gone less than a year later.
Yeah,
maybe 2 years later.
I think, you know, this is one of those, like, the first time that Huey makes any announcement of any sort whatsoever, like, you better spend some time on that. You better, you know, get the man some production crew, like, make it look good, make it sound good. You know, he didn't record it on his phone. You know what I mean? Like, you made sure that all the, you know, and show it to somebody else outside of Wizards first, for God's sake. You know, there's a few things that you can do to make sure that those go off well. Ruben, what's number 2?
My top 2, I knew were going to be my top 2. This list was like kind of difficult for me because I just had some, I don't know why this was difficult for me to conceptualize, but I knew 2 things that I knew 100% this is what my top 2 are going to be. And I don't really know why I feel so strongly about these 2 things, because they're not huge news and they're probably not even things most people are talking about, but they're the things I most want. My number 2 is I want Pioneer on Arena. I think that's the line in the sand. Once we get Pioneer on Arena, people are going to stop complaining about Alchemy.
That's my higher.
That's your higher?
Nice.
8.
Perfect. I think that Pioneer on Arena is the bellwether. Like, that's the goal, I think. Once Pioneer gets on Arena,
it's
a lot of other things fall into place.
It's like 40 or 50 cards, like literally 40, like 50 cards. And then you have like 90 something % of the format. Like, that's all you need. There's a very small, but important chunk of cards, all of them, you know, super powerful, rare, whatever, or super useful, Path to Exile, whatever.
And it connects back to what Nerd Girl was saying about how, you know, you have the 2 digital only formats, but you only have the 1 paper format.
Right.
And you need that second old paper format on Magic Online.
I think it was, so all of the Alchemy complaints I think are unfair because, you know, Wizards has told us all XYZ, but I also think it was very unfair of Wizards to do that without putting in place the other thing first, or at the very least at the same time. Like Alchemy, you know, the transition from, you know, Alchemy to Historic makes total sense to me, like whatever they want to do, but they really did screw over the current Historic player base, which is not, because there's nowhere for them to go. So that it's like, oh, we give you this thing, but if you don't like it, too bad. So I think the plan is to go to Pioneer, of course, and I think that that is very reasonable of Wizards, but they did it in such a poor way that I feel like if they would have put those 40 cards in place first and made this other format, the transition into Alchemy would have probably been perceived very well. Yeah. Because people actually do. There are a huge percentage of people who enjoy it.
And there's nothing wrong with that, you know, per se. It's just that when it felt like Wizards was taking something away from you with no good replacement and no even good explanation as to really why, other than it's always been a digital format. Like, I mean, I guess, but
it
like,
wasn't.
Right. The perception is the reality.
You can say one, exactly.
Perception is the reality.
Yep.
Because for the last year, it's been standard, Historic, Pioneer, and Modern. We could go play Historic in paper stores. Like that is just another format that people were enjoying. Right. So they did change it on us, even though it was never meant to be played that way. That's how it was. And it's not our fault that it was underdeveloped.
Correct.
So for my number 2, I'm going to say something that Wizards would definitely not like. I don't know if it'd be so bad they give you like the mean face and the guy gets thrown out of the window or anything. But, you know, if I'm in the boardroom, I'm like, look, what if we did less secret lair drops, but better secret lair drops? Like maybe have some really heavy hitters that go for big high prices and not do what you're literally doing right now. What are you doing, Wizards, with this Capricorn storefront thing? They're printed, but they're not printed. You're going to sell what's printed, but they might be printed in the future, but you got till the end of the year to buy. What are you doing? The whole damn program was built on FOMO, fear of missing out. And you literally said, whatever till December. Like, huh? Or what? I'm so confused by all of that. So like, do less of them, but make them super cool. Make them like, some EDH decks that you just did, which I think that thing probably went absolutely gangbusters. And, you did some cool stuff with Arcane, which is an amazing sort of cross brand promotion thing, which was cool. But, not weird like monthly releases that are available all year. What are we doing? I don't understand.
Yeah, I think that a direction or someone, and maybe they already have this, but someone in charge of the messaging of Secret Lairs. I think that Secret Lairs are ultimately fine. I know there was a bunch of consternation when they first came out, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever.
Sure.
Ultimately, they're fine. But they are in this weird place between Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, where they are both and neither in charge of Secret Lairs. And they just kind of happen through mitosis. Like, I don't even know where these ideas come from. Having a structure in place of who is in charge of what would really benefit what Secret Lairs are supposed to be doing.
I don't know. I mean, they like to throw spaghetti, right? They throw spaghetti. It's fine.
I think that's what this new thing is, that like this Sagittarius, whatever, Capricorn, whatever, it's just a new formatting. And if it sells just as well, they might just expand it to that. Why limit yourself on the design and creation of a product, only sell it for 2 weeks and then never make any money on it? It might just be that if they open it up for the year, they sell a lot more. That could just be the case. And then someone can come in at the end of the year and pick up all the ones that they've missed. And that could just turn out to be more product. Now, in general, I don't like Secret Lairs. I've only bought one, the Extra Life one from this past year with the cute Mole Drifter.
Mm-hmm. 2 creator hosts for $40. Yes.
Yeah. I don't like the cutting out of the stores. I don't like that, the excitement thing where, they're pricing out the packs when they're not legally allowed to do. It's super shady to me. The whole Secret Lair thing is
a little weird. And when you buy a deck for $100 and they're trying to sell you 5 lands for like 30, and you're like, you gave me a whole deck.
But it's excitement. Like, the whole thing is just shady. Yeah.
It's very shady. It's very underhanded, but we're here. So how do we make it better? And I think that your idea of how do we're not going back. There's no putting the toothpaste back. We have Secret Lairs now.
Right. There's no putting the money back in the toothpaste tube. Like, that money has come out and they're used to that money and they're not okay not having that money. Right. So, I think you can have bigger spikes, lower troughs, but bigger spikes to keep that number in there. We're talking, Secret Lair makes them like $100 million a year. Like, this is a lot of money. Yeah. So you don't want to make less money. And I'm not saying I want to make less money. I also make more special, more interesting projects for Secret Lair, and not just like the Capricorn thing is just a good example of like, why? Yeah. Why would you do that? And I guess they want to see what happens when you have a storefront? ? Let's move on here to number 1. Nerd Girl, what's your number 1?
So my number 1 is a little greedy, a little selfish, but I feel like it's my list, so I get to be that way. This is going to affect very few people super directly, but I think it does impact the entire community, and that is a creator program. And not just a creator program, but better communication with content creators. Things like the Greenlight Fund. Where did that go? Where did all of our petitions and things like that go? I don't know if you guys know this, but technically, Wizards still owns the rights to what we proposed for that Greenlight Fund money. So, like, we don't know, can we continue to make those? Like, I've talked to other content creators who are like, I'm still waiting in purgatory. I have another company who wants to, like, work with me and make this, but I can't until I hear back. Because once you've submitted that proposal to Wizards, it is now in purgatory.
And they were so shady about like where they wouldn't even answer questions. Like, I know, like, I can't tell you, like, I can't / not supposed to tell you that, there's some people who got some of that money, but they weren't supposed to say anything. Was just told not to say anything. Like, that was just weird, man. Like, Why are you being so weirdly shady about that?
So they're treating their content creators poorly, and they're making it difficult for us to make content. And it's not like it costs them a ton of money. And then even something so simple as whether or not you're going to get a Christmas card. Now, I'm extremely privileged. I've gotten most of these things. And like, I have a lot of friends. They're like, how do I get on this list? And I don't know. Like, someone likes me. Someone sometimes doesn't like me. I know that there has been handlers for the community side of things that haven't liked me. And surprisingly, I don't get things on those times. So it's like, there's no clear path and you have to, it's very shady. And I haven't worked with any other company like that.
Right. I also don't know if they even have my right address anymore. Like, D&D sends me stuff. They're great. They send me stuff.
You're on the right magical list.
I'm on the right magical list. Exactly.
I got on a magical list one day, and then I got taken off that magical list. And I think I got put back on it for a little bit, and then I got taken back off of it. I don't know. And at some point, it's like
a little bit of transparency would be nice.
Right.
That
They
is what I'm
outsource.
asking for.
Right. They outsource a lot of their marketing from time to time. I don't know, just because they can't handle it or they on time or whatever. I don't know why. But either way, I'll hear from different firms that are like super cool and happy to work with me. And then like sometimes Wizards won't give me the time of day when I'm trying to do something else. So it's a question mark. But
yeah. And I also, selfishly, we're content creators. The early access streamer event would be something I would like.
It'd be nice.
So, but any amount of communication. Once again, a crumb, please.
Please decide. Like, I want to market your wares. Could
Yeah,
you
I
please
understand.
Provide me with the tools.
I understand that winning solves a lot of problems, and it's like we're going to just keep failing forward. But we can always be better.
I mean, it's sad that like the general feeling from the community often is like, oh, content creators, like I get so many comments about like, oh, you're a shill for Wizards because they pay you so much money. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about?
Oh my God.
The best promotion in the content creator program on Stream Elements was we would like you to draft the new format. If you draft it live, make a YouTube video of it, send us a link to the YouTube video. We will compensate you with a draft token. That was the highest EV in the entire program.
Lord.
And that happened once.
But that was a lot of work. You see, that was somebody had they had a spreadsheet. They had to go through the spreadsheet. I've
got all these dollar bills in my ears. I can't hear you.
If you will work to promote my thing, I will then pay you back.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big spiel. And again, we're not asking for a lot. We just want to like make content for you.
Yeah.
And even if you don't give us free stuff, just like help us, tell us about it.
That'd be nice. Ruben, what's your number one?
So I'm interested to see what you guys think about my number one, because this was very obviously my number one. And in my mind, I was like, what has added the most value to my Magic playing experience in the last year? In the last many years.
We'll say it's like 2 years of the same stuff.
It's the modal double face spells that have lands on the back.
Okay. More land. MDFCs.
I want MDFC land spells to be an evergreen mechanic.
Okay.
I think that it is the best thing that they've added to Magic the Gathering as a keyword or as a mechanic.
Sure.
For as long as I've been playing Magic. I want mono double face modal land on one side. Now I understand that means they're going to have to ban Goblin Charbelcher and they're going to have to do a bunch of weird stuff. But this is what I've decided. I think that lands on one side, spells or creatures or whatever on the other, has added the most value to my Magic playing experience. Period.
I too love the pathways. I think the pathways are brilliant. And they're going to be, I think the pathways are going to be as expensive and as important in some ways as fetch lands. Not as much as expensive, but I think those things are going to get be $30, $40 after they rotate and they go away for a while. And everybody, I think, I don't know, just maybe they didn't give enough sort of credence to it wasn't a secret layer. What was it? There was a way you could buy all the extended art foil pathways in like this in a special. It was a secret layer that was sold at stores. Remember?
Right.
So
and those are good.
That thing is amazing.
I'm more talking about Tangled Florahedron.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm more and Shatter
creature
Shatter Skull
spike
smashing.
hazard.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, those were sort of my favorite designs of the dual face lands. But
Yeah.
I loved the creatures and the spells. I thought it was brilliant. I just, I really love the pathways too. I think they're great.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's why I put it my number one. I think that it's the best quality of life. When I'm playing Magic, they just make me happy.
There you go. So for my number one, I got Super Duper Selfish with Selfish Sauce drizzled right on top. My number one is for Magic Mics to continue growing.
Aww.
We're talking to some people this week, which is going to be exciting. I want to work on, just making good stuff that people like to listen to and watch, and between making more content myself on the side, I hope it just kind of spills over into success for us. And, let's go.
I think it is, we have a very unique product, but also being a unique product with a very unique subset of a subculture as the main audience is difficult to keep growing, to sustain growth. And we've been lucky enough to have had sustained growth for most of our existence. And the fact that we've been able to evolve and change and introduce Nerd Girl and bring in some new necessary changes has been nothing but good for the show. Yeah. And so I'm excited that that's your number one.
Yeah. Like I want, Patreon, let's work on Patreon ideas. We've said the K word quite a few times over the past few weeks, Kickstarter.
Yeah.
There's projects that we can do this year if we want. It just, it's got to sit down, take time, plan them out, and execute.
Plan the work and work the plan, as my dad likes to say.
There you go. All right. And that was our top 10 2022 wish list. You'll see them on screen right now. If you review, take a look at my list, Nerd Girl's list, Ruben's top 10, and we want to hear from you about what card we did not talk about. And we'll select our favorite to win $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffInc.com. But before we go, I want to thank my co-host. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Ruben.
I'm proud that we didn't wish for more wishes. That was well done.
Not wish for more wishes. All right. Well, the card we didn't talk about, or the thing we didn't talk about, it's a good point, Martin Casa. That's why we have feedback here, isn't it? That said, we go to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com and AlterSleeves.com, my co-host, MTG Nerd Girl and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching or listening. I hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMics. Follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at Twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.